Tuesday nights, my husband Kyle has his algebra class at Clearwood, the community college north of town. Kyle does sales for a widget manufacturer, and his boss says once Kyle finishes his bachelor's degree, they'll send him to China to sell widgets there. It'll mean a big raise, but first Kyle has to get through algebra, then 2 more years at state, and who knows how he'll feel about widgets then. When he comes home from class tonight, Kyle's clothes are caked in mud. He's holding one of those institutional paper towels that looks like a big graham cracker against a cut on his right cheek. Boy, am I beat, Kyle says. He collapses into his armchair. Quiz night, I say? Yeah, at least I got a few extra credit points for helping dig the pit. I've heard people talk about the pit before, but I thought it was figurative, a visualization device to help with studying, navigating around the pit of procrastination or something. So it's a real pit, I say, not a metaphor? An honest-to-God pit. Threw my back out digging it. This is my cue to fetch bags of frozen things from the freezer. Strawberries, peas, tropical fruit medley. I help Kyle position the bags against his lumbar spine. He describes digging into the frozen earth of the old track. Once they dug it 8 feet deep, they all jumped in at a signal from their teacher, Mrs. Appleby. They did their quizzes by the light of kerosene lamps. The first student to complete his quiz and scramble up the side of the pit earned 50 extra credit points. It was pointless because we knew Jian would win, Kyle says. He's mentioned Jian before, a Chinese student who was placed in the class by mistake because his English isn't good and he messed up his placement test. The word problems were confusingly phrased. Even Kyle had trouble understanding what they were getting at. Jian took about 3 minutes to finish the quiz, Kyle says. I hate that guy. He wears the same Abercrombie sweatshirt every day. I don't understand, I say. Why a pit? Kyle explains Mrs. Appleby's pedagogical rationale for the algebra pit. In the real world, people have to use algebra in stressful situations. Say you're a train operator and a track goes out, and you have to calculate within seconds the speed at which train A is traveling and the moment it will intersect the path of train B. The pit aims to mimic such a stressor. If you get the pit credit, you're set for the rest of the semester, Kyle says. You barely even have to go to class. Of course, Jian still will, because he loves math. Kyle's hips shift on his ice cushions. He winces and adjusts the peas. You hungry? I say. I made a lentil thing. Nah, Kyle says. Rob broke out some trail mix in the pit. Someone else had a bottle of tequila. Once Jian climbed out, we just said fuck it, copied each other's answers, and got drunk. I don't know what to make of the pit. We had no such thing at my liberal arts college. Our professors wore hiking boots to class and eschewed tests in favor of brief, impressionistic essays. In bed, I snuggle my back into Kyle's broad front. Though he showered, he still smells of wet earth and tequila and something sticky and metallic, like old coins warmed in a palm. In March, Kyle has his midterm. That night, I watched a reality show in which dowdy female contestants are furnished with plastic surgery and provocative clothing, then pitted against each other in a beauty pageant. When Kyle comes home, I flip to CNN. Kyle's shirt is streaked with blood. I didn't get the pit credit, he says, and this time there were snakes. I follow Kyle into the bathroom and ask him questions through the shower curtain. He says that after Jian climbed out, Mrs. Appleby tilted an aquarium full of snakes over the pit. They were just garters, but still. I stepped on one, Kyle says, his voice small. I felt it squish and then I heard its spine crack. Why don't you just drop the class, I say. This whole pit business doesn't seem worth it. I want that pit credit, Kyle says. I stall and brush my teeth again, hoping he'll say more. His bloody t-shirt is balled in the trash can, hidden under tissues and floss. The shower runs and runs. Kyle's different after his midterm. He can't plug in his computer because the cord reminds him of a snake. He takes days off work to study. I get home around 6 and he's still there at the kitchen table, solving for the value of X. On the night of Kyle's final exam, we eat Chinese takeout straight from the boxes, using plastic forks so we won't have to wash anything. Kyle drinks bottles of Blue Moon with slivers of orange pushed into the necks. We don't talk about the test. He's like a boxer preparing for the ring. Wish me luck, he says from the door. I wait a few minutes, then get in my car and drive to Clearwood. I find Kyle's class on the old track. Since the new track was built 2 years ago, this one has been left to ruin. A menagerie of drug addicts gathers here at night, on the overgrown grass where the school once held Zumba classes and ultimate frisbee tournaments. The dirt beneath the bleachers is riddled with broken lighters, tiny Ziploc bags, condom wrappers, and wads of foil. Against the sherbet hues of the setting sun, Kyle's class digs. I spot Gian in an orange Abercrombie sweatshirt. Gradually, the students' heads disappear. Then they help each other climb out and line up like children at the edge of the pool. Mrs. Appleby distributes the exams. When everyone's ready, she blows a whistle and they all jump in. Shambling human figures encroach at the margins of the track, waiting for the class to disperse. Mrs. Appleby sits in the grass and stares at the bright rectangle of her phone screen. 10 minutes pass, and then Kyle's head pops over the edge. He holds his test in his fist like a baton. He thrusts it at Mrs. Appleby, who looks confused. She peers over the lip of the pit and screams. The other students scramble out, but Gian remains in the pit. I picture him lying bloody and broken, still clutching his final exam. My husband stands alone, facing me. I watch the triumph on his face dissolve into fear. I wave, but he looks right through me, into the middle distance of our ruined future. Sirens wail in the distance. I slink back to my car and drive home to wait for the phone to ring.